Okay, let's dive into this explainer. Welcome to our deep dive into the echo of solitude. Honestly, it's a fascinating behavioral mystery, and it affects pretty much every single one of us as we navigate the hyper-connected world of 2026. I mean, have you ever noticed how a perfectly quiet room can somehow feel, incredibly loud? Or why the absolute second things get still, we feel this overwhelming, almost panicked urge to fill the void with sound? Well, today, we're going to unpack this hidden fear of silence. We're going to figure out exactly why our brains are hardwired to literally hate quiet rooms and look at how this impacts our daily lives.
So think about your day so far, or you know what, even your whole week. When was the exact last time you sat in total, absolute silence? I don't mean sleeping, I don't mean reading a book, just existing in the quiet. I want you to feel what that's like right now. Uncomfortable, isn't it? Just a few seconds of dead air feels so incredibly heavy. It feels like a mistake, like someone forgot to cue the background track of your life.
We are talking about absolute zero background noise here. No music, no podcasts, just you. Picture yourself stepping into an empty elevator and the doors slide shut. What's the very first thing you do? Well, if you're like most people, your hand is probably already in your pocket, right? You're pulling out your phone just to avoid those, 10 or 15 seconds of quiet between floors? It's a pretty stark reality of modern life. We treat these tiny little micro scenarios of silence, waiting for a friend at a table, sitting at a red light, just standing in line, as a problem that needs to be instantly cured. And this instinct to instantly reach for a distraction, it's not just some weird quirk. There is an actual clinical reality to what we're experiencing here. It's called autophobia. Now, this isn't necessarily about the fear of being physically alone in an empty building. It's the fear of solitude, or more specifically, it's the fear of being alone with your own thoughts. That immediate, almost completely reflexive grab for your phone the exact second the room gets quiet, that is deeply, deeply rooted in our psychology. We are fundamentally terrified of facing our own internal monologue without some kind of buffer. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why we're wired this way. To really understand why, we have to compare our past to our present. Think about ancestral silence for a second. For early humans out in the wild, silence actually meant danger. If the crickets stopped chirping and the forest suddenly went dead quiet, that usually signaled an approaching predator. Silence was a literal threat to your physical survival. It meant you needed to be on high alert. But then, look at modern silence. Today, a quiet living room doesn't mean a predator is stalking us. Instead, it signals that we're about to be left entirely alone with our own thoughts. We've essentially traded the physical fear of a predator for the emotional fear of vulnerability. But the crazy part is, our nervous system responds with the exact same primal urgency to escape it.
Now, what's really interesting about the data is how clearly it captures our modern response to that primal fear. Take a look at this breakdown of 2026 daily noise consumption. Look at those massive slices taking up almost the entire picture. You've got streaming media, social media, and ambient noise, which is, like playing a 10-hour loop of rain sounds just so the room isn't quiet. And then look really closely at that tiny, almost microscopic little sliver for actual quiet time. I mean, this perfectly demonstrates the extreme lengths we'll go to just to shield ourselves from solitude. We are completely bathing our brains in constant artificial stimulation just to drown out the mere possibility of having to sit with ourselves.
So how does this actually look in practice? Enter what we call our modern shields against silence. These are the everyday habits we don't even think twice about anymore. Things like falling asleep to podcasts so we don't have to lie awake in the dark with our thoughts, or leaving the TV on in the other room just to have a voice in the house. Doom scrolling through our feeds the very second we have even a brief idle moment. Or, my personal favorite, walking around our own homes, making dinner completely alone while wearing noise-canceling headphones. These aren't just entertainment choices anymore. They act as defensive barriers, keeping our brains fully occupied so the quiet literally never has a chance to creep in.
Let's see how this builds into a very real psychological reaction when we do, suddenly, find ourselves in the quiet. This is the psychological cascade of a quiet room, and it happens in 3 distinct steps. Step 1, the lack of external stimuli. Let's say your car Bluetooth disconnects or the TV randomly turns off. Instantly, we hit step 2, our internal thoughts amplify. Without all that external noise to kind of weigh down our attention, the volume of our own worries, our massive to-do lists, past regrets, it all just turns up to the absolute maximum, which triggers step 3, anxiety. That sudden rush of internal noise feels completely overwhelming, which triggers an immediate, urgent need for distraction. So you fidget, you reach for the remote, you open up an app, and the cycle just loops.
So the crucial point is perfectly captured in this powerful concept. Silence isn't empty, it's a mirror. It forces us to hear the echoes of our own lives. This is the massive takeaway for this explainer. We aren't actually afraid of the absence of sound. Not at all. What absolutely terrifies us is the reflection. We run from silence because we're afraid of what we're forced to confront within ourselves when there is absolutely nothing else left to listen to.
Which brings us to our resolution. Sit with the quiet. You know, knowledge is power. And now that you understand the actual mechanics behind this hidden fear, I want to challenge you. Don't let your daily routine be completely dictated by some evolutionary glitch that makes you terrified of your own mind. Try slowly reintroducing small, intentional pockets of solitude into your day. Next time you get in the car, try driving just the first 5 minutes with the radio off. In the elevator, leave the phone in your pocket. Just sit with it. Build up your tolerance to your own company.
Because ultimately, this whole thing comes down to one fundamental, deeply personal question. If you strip away all the podcasts, the social media, the background TV, and the ambient noise, what are you afraid you might hear?